To tender a transaction in the IntelliQ point of sale system, you need to go to the drop-down menu for point of sale and click on the process button. Once you've clicked the process button, the user will be prompted to log in a second time. Even though the user has already logged into the original database system, the transactional system requires a second user login to identify the user as being the employee that belongs to this transaction. So we're going to go ahead and log in. Once logging in, the user will be taken to the transaction screen that's going to allow you to choose between a sale or a return. In order to tender a sale, the user will need to type in the phone number of the customer that we're going to tender the sale for. In order to process a return, they will need to fill in the receipt number or the invoice number of the previous sale that is being returned now. In this case, we're going to do a transaction. So we're going to process a sale by using the phone number of our friend Tom Tester. Upon selecting search, the system will query the database to pull up the basic information for Tom Tester to ensure that this is the customer that you are processing the transaction for. In this case, we're going to see that the account name is Tom Tester, that his account number is 555-666-777, and confirm that the phone number that we typed in is 661-555-1212. Now, the reason why we're doing this account check is to ensure that the phone number we're processing the transaction on is the correct number that belongs to the correct account. Oftentimes, a phone number in a database will be recycled in the Sprint system and reused by another customer. So if you have a customer that came into your store a number of years back, and that phone number returns to your system, but now it belongs to a different customer, we want to make sure that the phone number belongs to the proper account. This is going to be very important for us during the commission reconciliation process. So we can do one of two things from this point. If this is not the correct account name and the account number for this phone number, we can move this phone number to the proper account. If it is the proper account name, we can continue on to the transaction screen. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. This takes us to our transaction screen. Now, one of the things you're going to notice is it's telling us right now which location we belong to once again and the cash drawer that we are using. If you have multiple cash drawers set up in a location, each individual terminal will have to be assigned to a specific cash drawer. The transaction screen itself is fairly simple. We've got the ability to add items by category. So we've got drop downs here for all the different categories for items that you might have. So if we're choosing phones, for example, we would see the list of items that are under phones in our system. If we're doing accessories, you can see the list of items that are under accessories, or you can have subcategories such as car chargers or anything like that. In this case, we're going to select phones. Down at the bottom of the screen, as we select an item, it will be added to the transaction screen and tell us what the retail price of that particular item is. On the right-hand side, we're going to have the basic customer information for this 661-555-1212 number. So we've got Tom Tester, there's his account number, there's his current phone model, and there's the account manager, which is the IQ admin. If I want to actually see Tom Tester's customer data in more detail, I can click on this particular link and it'll take me to his account information that we had in our database. So we're going back to the more detailed view of the account and the phone number. If I want to go back to the transaction screen, I go back to point of sale current, it takes me right back to the transaction screen I was in. On the options menu, you can see the options menu is empty now. The options menu will be populated based on the item that we select. So in the case of a phone, for example, we're going to have the options menu populate based on selecting a phone. So let's try that. Instead of selecting an item from the drop-down menu, we can actually scan in the SKU or the ESN of the item as well. In this case, we're going to go ahead and scan in an ESN for a phone. Pretend like we're scanning that. This brings us the Apple iPhone 4S 16GB black with a full retail price of $649. So one of the things you'll notice is we have selected a phone and the options menu has now populated to tell us that we need to decide if we're doing a new activation, an upgrade, or a retail sale. Now in this sense we're going to do an upgrade, but we can choose between one of the three. The retail price of $6.49 is based on no further discounts, no promotional amounts, no overlays, anything like that. So nothing is going to happen to that price until we select what we're going to do with this phone. So in this case, we're going to choose Upgrade. Once we choose Upgrade, the drop-down menu expands to give us more details about the transaction that we're going to do. So we've already populated the ESN because we scanned it in. We can also determine whether or not the source of this item is inventory or VAD, direct ship. So if it was an iPhone that we were direct shipping from the Sprint warehouse, we can actually select direct ship and it knocks the price down to 0. Now why does it knock the price down to 0? Because we're not actually selling this out of our stock, so we only really need to track it for commission purposes. But in this case, we are selling an inventory item, so we're going to go back to inventory. And you can see once we selected Upgrade, it automatically discounted down the promo amount. So the promo amount is the $150 off for the upgrade that the customer automatically gets, plus the $350 additional overlay that is being discounted on this phone. That is all set in your config for the individual phone items, so each phone might have a different overlay. In this case, it's a $500 total promo to take the price down to $149. We're going to put in the order number, because at this point you've probably already done the activation of the upgrade in Sprint's system. It's FDT or Snap. So we have an order number here. So we can just make up an order number. We're going to confirm the phone number. Now you may be asking yourself, why are we confirming the phone number when we already have the phone number up here? Well, the reason why we're doing that is because the phone number that we're using here to get into the transaction screen can be used on any phone number for this account. So if I was doing multiple line upgrades, let's say I had 2 other upgrades I was doing, I would select 2 more phone models, and then I would have 2 different phone numbers for this particular account on the upgrades. One of the things the system does, you can see we have a green check here, is it does query the database to determine whether or not this phone number actually belongs to this account. So if I had typed in a phone number that was wrong, like 1218, and that phone number belonged to a different account, the system would tell me that and prevent me from processing a transaction on this account. Now the reason why it does that is because we want all of our phone numbers and account numbers to match for commission reconciliation purposes. We don't want to have commission batching errors, and we don't want to have reconciliation errors when we get paid from the carrier. So this will prevent you from putting the wrong phone number on the wrong account. If it's a phone number that isn't in the database at all, it's a brand new phone number, it will add it to this account. So there are 2 different ways that you can do that. Eligibility codes will be pulled automatically from the database if you have them stored in there. If it's a brand new customer and you don't have an eligibility code on there, you can just type it in. We'll just make up an eligibility code. But ordinarily, you will have eligibility codes that will automatically populate in this field. And then we can choose, because it's an upgrade, we don't need to choose plan, but we can choose features. If we wanted to add TEP or something like that, we would add it to the list here. Over here, we're going to see that our final price now with tax is $159.43. You'll notice we have an adjustment field here that appears to be grayed out and locked. You have the ability in our system to lock adjustments on any item that you choose, and that would provide an ability for a manager to come over and unlock it if you wanted to adjust down the price. This will help prevent employees from discounting phones or discounting items that you don't want them to discount. So we can come in here and we can discount either by another dollar amount to make it $139, or we can actually do 10% and it'll do the math for us. So you can see down to there. So we're not going to adjust anything further, so we're going to go back to the $149.99. So we've got everything in the transaction screen. If we wanted to add accessories, we could do that, but we're just going to go ahead and tender the transaction. And then once we click enter, the receipt will pop up and the transaction will be completed. So the transaction process, if I wanted to go cash or credit card or check or even bill to account, you can bill to account. For customers that are authorized to bill to account, you may bill them out later. So it's a very simple, easy to process system. We're able to create multiple categories and subcategories, multiple items under those categories, and then the options menu allows you to put in all of the information that's relevant to the transaction. If we were doing an activation, It would be a similar screen, only we would be adding the name for the line, and we would be putting in the plan information for the particular new line that's being activated. So the IntelliQ system offers a very easy to use transaction processing system, and once a transaction occurs, everything goes into the reporting, which we will get into later in another demo.